us across the oceans till we found the American dream.
Thanks for tuning in. My name is Ingrid Lemmy, and this is American Dream, a show about people, their hopes, their dreams, their realities, and most certainly their family heritage. My guest today is the new kid on the block, actually maybe not so new kid on the block, Rick Murphy.
Thank you.
Guess to take the excitement out of this here, let's right away tell you that Rick is the man behind The Independent. Rick is the new editor, new since a couple of years, right?
No, about 11 months to be
11 months?
exact.
The editor-in-chief of The Independent, East Hampton, Southampton, Riverhead, and Norfolk Independent.
That's correct.
The man behind it, who has basically doubled the paper within 11 months. And we're going to discover who this man is right here
That's correct.
at Gurney's Inn overlooking the ocean. Rick, it starts all somewhere which we call family.
Okay.
Tell us about what about your family ties?
The reason I'm here is my mom was born and raised in Sag Harbor.
Oh.
She was the daughter of Italian immigrants who my grandfather came here around the turn of the century.
Oh,
was,
great. Of a boat?
On the boat,
Yeah.
was discharged from the Italian army, came here, worked for 2 years, got a citizenship, and was drafted into the American army.
Can you
Sent
go
back
on?
there to
Oh,
fight.
boy.
So he actually fought twice in World War I.
Yeah.
But we grew up in New York City, but also always had a house in the Hamptons, and I loved Sag Harbor from the beginning, and I said I'm going to go back to Sag Harbor. And I went to work on Wall Street. I had
Hold on. You didn't go right away to work on Wall Street. No way. We're not gonna let you do that. Tell us a little bit about Little Ricky. What did Little Ricky?
Ricky went to Catholic prep school, St. Augustine High School in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And of course, we had a weekend and summers in Sag Harbor.
Nice.
So I had the best of both worlds.
Did you like school?
I did very much, yes. It
Oh,
was,
so you're one of those wonder kids, huh?
well, no, it was all boys school.
Yeah.
We were
But you like girls?
jackets and ties. Well, I always say that I've never seen so many heterosexuals in one place, and I think it's because there weren't any girls, you know. I mean, I literally used to dream of what it would be like to drop your pencil and have girls be in the same room when you picked it up, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we never had girls, you know.
Hey, talk about hormones running riot.
So I also went to college in the city, and I have no idea why I majored in corporate finance, because I always wanted to be a writer.
Yeah.
I was actually the editor of my, not only my high school paper, but my grammar school paper. I was the editor.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I went to
But you know what, Rick, doesn't it help to have a business degree? Come on. In some way or the other, I mean, in retrospect, you can say it was good. It was...
So I actually ended up many years later, which was 5 years ago, making a lot of money in the investment banking business. As luck would have it, it just so happened to be that great year when all the NASDAQ stocks went through the roof and all the internet startups.
Was it accidental or?
Completely.
No.
Yeah, I just...
Well, how come I never have that kind of a luck? My God.
It was really ridiculously
So you
lucky.
got rich by the...
I didn't get rich, but I made some decent money for a change, you know. So, you know, I've always been on the cusp of being poor, and that made me comfortable enough that I could actually sit back and get back into writing.
When was the first time you fell in love?
Probably when I was about 8.
Okay, let's say it this way. When did you meet your wife?
I met my wife 7 years ago. She's my second wife.
Yeah.
I was a reporter for the East Hampton Star at the time.
Yeah. I heard about those escapades.
Yes, she was getting the runaround from, or thought she was getting the runaround from the police regarding a complaint she had filed.
Yeah.
And she called me up. She never saw me, but we spoke on the phone for months.
Yeah.
And she became convinced that I was in with the police, but, you know, because we were a small town. But unbeknownst to her, I did research her complaint and found out she was, in fact, getting the runaround.
Yeah.
And I actually had a few contacts, you know, in the police myself.
And what did you like about her? I mean, when you never saw her before, just the way she talked?
She wouldn't, she was standing up for herself against all odds, you know.
Yeah.
And they were giving her the runaround, like they'd make her come all the way out to court, for example, and then they'd postpone it.
Yes.
Which is a day's work and 6 hours. And she kept coming back, and she kept writing the letters, and she wouldn't let it go. And so she won me over because I was convinced that she was getting shafted.
Yes.
And she was.
Yes.
So to make a long story short, when the case was finally ended, I finally met her in the courtroom.
Yeah.
And I said, how will I know it's you? And
Yeah.
she said, I'll be the one with the red hair.
Yeah.
So I remember I walked to East Hampton Justice Court, and there's a little window.
Yeah.
And I looked through the window, and I saw her there, and I said to myself, man,
That's
I'm
it.
in trouble.
Oh, is that adorable?
Yeah.
Come on, Dee, say, oh, it's so adorable. Oh. So that means it was, you just knew it.
Yeah, I actually, my daughter lived with me at the time, and my phone message said, you know, Rick and Anna aren't here, please leave a message, blah, blah. And I ran over to my house at lunchtime, and I changed the phone message so it said, Rick and his daughter, Anna, aren't home, because I wanted her to make sure that she didn't,
is so
you know.
adorable.
So we started dating right after that at each other. And she said, do you come into Manhattan? And I said, oh, yeah, all the time, even though I never did, you know. And
It's
I said,
amazing what you can actually do when you lie well.
so this is actually a great story. So I said, what do you like to do? And she says, well, I like to go to the art galleries.
Yeah, and you hated art.
I know nothing about art. However, one of my best friends is a gentleman by the name of Joe Zucker, who is a world-famous artist and who was featured in the Whitney Biennial.
Yeah.
In fact, he was featured 5 consecutive times.
Very comfortable.
And I was telling him, and he said, do you want to go to the private opening
Oh,
of the
convenient.
Whitney Biennial? Because I've been there for the last 5 years.
Boy, was she impressed.
She was really impressed, you
Yes,
know.
yes, yes, yes.
So,
It's amazing. But there is something about Rick Murphy, I have to tell you that, about talking to this guy on the phone. It worked with me too. Thank God I'm happily married, as you all know. Sunshine, the man of my life. Rick, very recently, just less than a year ago, you made a major move. And that's something, guys, what we're going to discover when we come back after these messages. With Rick Murphy, the man of the hour, the man who is running the East Hampton, Southampton, Riverhead, and North Fork Independent very soon, an Hispanic version of the Independent.
that's correct.
Rick, we all want to know, as a matter of fact, Debbie Toomer, one of our favorite and Montauk's very own, your reporters is here, and she just said, ask him what his journalism
He
skills
sounds
were.
just like her.
And so that's exactly what I got to do now. Rick, what did you write before?
Well, after leaving Wall Street, I never did get back into my passion, which was newspapers. As I said, I did do that in college and high school. But back in 1987 or so, the East Hampton Star opened up a Sag Harbor paper, where, as I said, my
Which
family
was
was from.
then
The
actually-
Sag Harbor Herald.
Yeah, that was a year or two, right? Or
It actually lasted 3 years.
it did, okay.
And they hired Linda Sherry, who was a good friend of mine, to be the editor. And I would write a letter to the editor every week, just tweaking her. And she said to me, would you be interested in working for us? And I remember distinctly, I used to make $25 an article, and Debbie complained. And I started out covering basketball games and writing a column, which I still have my column. I've had it all ever since in one paper or
Pretty
another.
aggressive column, if I may say so.
Thanks. It's been around for 15 years
You
now.
certainly don't take no for an answer and
No,
are
I
not
don't.
scared of nothing, honey.
No, I'm not.
No.
When I'm hiding behind the pen, I'm really brave.
Oh
you
my
know?
God, you are.
But, you know, I always say the person that is tweaked most in my column is me. You know, I'm the biggest idiot. So.
You are making fun of yourself, yes?
Yeah, so-
But you know what? Those are people with a very high self-esteem level who can do that. Welcome to the club.
Well, thank you, I guess.
My producer didn't get it as usual.
So anyhow, I worked for the Herald. The Herald closed down, and I went to work for the Star for 10 years. And I left the Star to freelance for the Times. And then...
Hey, that's something but not everybody can say.
No, it was very good. It was, I remember very well, it was a gentleman by the name of Stuart Campbell. And this is also funny. I was actually delivering the New York Times in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Because I needed money for my daughter's college tuition.
Yeah.
And I'd set the alarm at like 3 in the morning, and finally my new wife said, you know, this is crazy, you should be writing for the New York Times. So I called them up because she was getting so annoyed at the alarm going off in the middle of the night. And I called up, and the secretary said, well, here's what you do. You put together 10 clips and send them to this address, and if the editors are interested, they'll call you back. So I figured, you know, that's the end of that. And then an hour later, Stuart Campbell, who was the Long Island section editor, called me back, and he said, don't worry about the clips. I know who you are. Why don't you just come on in, and we'll get you going. So that was it.
Hey, there are no coincidences. Everything in life happens for a reason.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, and I have to tell you, when I heard The Independent is making such a major change, boy, did I hate it. Until the moment I actually realized what we were doing. And boy, are you a mover and shaker.
Thanks.
You are, now I understand.
I'm not sure everyone will agree, but
Oh, yes. Oh, hey.
it's been a pretty wild ride.
I have a
last
lot
year.
of weight physically and in
Oh,
some other
come
ways, and I can tell you, you do. Oh my goodness, I am. It took me approximately 4 issues until I stopped complaining to Lee Minutry.
We had a lot of those. At the
Okay,
beginning,
then
yeah.
I stopped complaining, and then from that moment we saw, oh my God, the paper was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that means more and more people would actually pick up the paper, and that would come back to me, the advertiser,
Yeah, that's
for
true.
Gurney's Inn. So why would I complain? So then I tried to figure out, how does this guy actually look? I mean, he had a very nice photo in the paper, but how does he look? And I have to tell you, you are very handsome.
Oh, come on.
So,
Only my wife tells me that. They didn't hire me for my looks, I'm sure of that.
no, but definitely for your brains.
But, you know, I want to give Jerry Delafamina, who's the majority owner, and Jim Mack and Lee Minutry, you know, they really, for the first time in my career, they really said, it's your paper.
Yeah.
You know, and I swear to you that not one of them has ever even suggested,
Yes.
or even when they wanted to, they haven't criticized me. You know, they've stood by me, and I'm sure sometimes they shook their heads and said, "Where is he going? What are we doing?" You know.
I am working with Lee Minutry since years. I just love Lee. Lee is a great guy. Jim Mackin, hey, Jim and I were going back many years. I will never forget, he did a photo shooting at Gurney's, the girl in the Roman bath. The model didn't show up. I dropped my clothes. Now, this is 50 pounds less. Dropped my clothes, jumped into the Roman bath, and boy, were we in the papers.
We have those pictures all over the Independent office. So.
Jesus Christ, those were the years. Now, this is now talk about, hey, guys, 7 years back. So then, Jerry, tell us about Jerry. What is it like to be working with Jerry?
Well, first of all, you know, there's a misconception that, you know, he's in the newsroom.
Yeah.
I've only physically seen him 2 times since he hired me. He never, ever suggests a story. He's a very busy man. You know, he runs, as you well know, an internationally known advertising agency. He loves to write his column. You know, he sits down every Tuesday and writes it, and
it's quite funny.
but I've grown to respect him a great deal. For example, for all his, sometimes people think he's abrasive, but he's a very sweet guy, and he's probably done more for this community as far as fundraising. You know, virtually every weekend of the summer, he opens up his house to a charitable cause, and I mean, people run all around the house and drop cigarettes on the rugs, and you know how
That
it
is bad.
Oh, but I couldn't believe July 4th, he had 200 people running through his oceanfront houses.
Yeah.
And that's his way of giving back. He's not a pretentious guy. Talk about coming from nothing. He comes from nothing. He comes from not far from our old neighborhood in Brooklyn, which was Avenue U. It was all Italians, first generation, and
My God, so we definitely should have him as the American dream man here.
I'm telling you, he has never forgotten his roots, and he's very down to earth.
And not pretentious. Is certainly not somebody who is pretending that he came from something or nothing, like certain Bill O'Reillys we know.
Oh, he's great. You know, when I first met him, as I said, I went to work recruiting high-end stockbrokers for a company completely out of the blue. And I had like a couple great years, and then, you know, 9/11 happened, and that was the end of that. So I was kind of between jobs, basically just relaxing for the first time in 15 years. And I got a phone call from him, and he said, why don't you come over to my house? And I went over there, and he pulled up, and we went in and we talked, and he said, you know, you're the guy we want. He said, I haven't offered the job to anybody else. I don't intend to offer the job to anybody else. And I said, well, you know, I'll think about it. And he said, well, why don't you at least get together with Jim Mack and let him tell you more about it? So I said, okay. So then I walked out. This was a Sunday, and he walked out with me. And I said, where are you going? He said, I'm going back to the city. It turns out he drove all the way from the city just to meet me for an hour, and then he drove all the way back.
Wow.
So that impressed me, you know.
That is a great story.
Because he's a busy guy, you know. So, and then I meet Jim Mackin the next day, and he stands up and he hugs me, and he says, welcome aboard.
That's Lee.
But I didn't know.
That's Lee. That's Lee Minitry, guys. We got to take a break. See you later, Lee. It's independent. It's Rick Murphy, the American Dream Man. Rick Murphy, last issue, top left corner. Anybody who obviously saw Janet Jackson with her chest hanging out of her dress, basically this is what it is, and this particular part exposed, was appalled, except my husband. He missed it. He was very upset that he missed it. So did I, because I couldn't care less if Janet Jackson's breast is hanging out or not. But we're on the way to church, right? And what am I reading? Of course, The Independent. So I'm picking up, and, oh my God, I said, I can't believe this. And here is little Janet Jackson right in the corner, that particular issue right here in the corner, okay? And there is her nipple, clearly to be seen. I mean, this is what we call this thing, right? Clearly
Where
to
I
be
come from.
And I'm telling my husband, 6'6", lovely sunshine, who is such a saint, I said, baby, you can't believe it. And he said, finally, everybody talks about it. I haven't seen it. So he didn't want to see any more of this stuff where she's obviously covering up. He wanted to know and see the real thing. So he loved it, absolutely loved it. But Rick, tell us, what does it take? Were you attacked? Were people sending you letters? Did anybody say something?
Yeah, we've got, I think there's a couple letters in there, and we had, I believe, 5 phone calls.
Yeah.
And first of all, I have to tell you that the colors, I never see the color cover because it's produced in New York at Jerry's advertising agency. So I was told there was a pasty on it with a sun-shaped pasty, which apparently there is, but I didn't really think it was going to be quite that graphic, but be that as it may. After the 3rd phone call, I started, instead of trying to, I said, well, write a letter. I started, instead of apologizing, I started telling people that it wasn't really Janet Jackson's breast. What it really was a water balloon that we had superimposed a pacifier in and did the whole thing in the art department.
Yeah.
And the first lady I told that to, she went, oh, now I see that. So
you're admitting now publicly that you actually lied?
No, well, yes, I did lie, but here's the point.
Okay.
That thing isn't real to begin with. I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember the Fame TV show. There was a Fame movie.
Yeah.
Janet Jackson was a regular on that show.
Yeah.
And she had no breasts then. So my point is, if she had it inserted on her chest, it's not real to begin with. So, it's fake. The whole thing is fake. It's like a water balloon, So
Woo,
I'm sticking to that story no matter what. But yeah, I mean, it was basically a cheap attention grabber. We have no qualms about that.
Now Rick goes Spanish. Rick goes Viva es. Hold on, what is he saying here? I can't pronounce it. La versión en español de El Independent.
Right, we're going to have a completely Spanish language independent up and running probably, I don't know, within 2 months.
Okay.
And,
how the hell gonna do this? I mean, do you speak Spanish?
No, but I'm going to learn in a hurry. It was kind of, Jerry had this idea that he's been talking about for a long time. They're implementing it much quicker than I thought, and the concept is much different than the reality of it. The concept was we're just going to take some of the same stories and run them through a computer program and translate them into Spanish, but I realize now that we're in the implementation stage.
It's not that easy.
It's not going to work at all. First of all, the Latino population doesn't care about most of the stories we have in the paper because it doesn't involve them. Second of all, I can't have a bunch of people with Irish and Italian and Jewish names writing about the Latinos.
Absolutely.
So what I've decided to do is hire a complete staff of young, hip Latino people that are living here and give them the paper and say, you make the Spanish-speaking independent. You tell me what the stories are. You tell me what to cover. You tell me what you want to write about. And then I'm going to hire one assistant who I've already pretty much chosen, and he's going to read every word to me, literally, so I can edit it. And meanwhile, I've told everyone involved that everybody in the building is going to start speaking Spanish on Wednesday and Thursday, the 2 days that we're going to actually produce the paper.
Lee Military too?
I said so, because he's an owner if he doesn't want to listen to something. But I really want to, if we're going to do it, I want to do it right. And, we all suspect within a year we'll all be able to converse freely, because we're going to surround ourselves with people that will constantly be translating for us,
Exactly.
So, I'm hoping that this will be a viable vehicle for a community that basically doesn't have a voice right now at all.
Which you are going to change. That sounds like Rick Murphy. Rick Murphy, how are you handling deadlines?
I love deadlines.
You like them?
I love the whole business.
You're not getting wacko.
No, I love it. There's nothing I like better than being under the gun.
Handel, guys, I think we have to slow down, give the Independent some advertising and say here that, first of all, you are audited.
Correct.
Very important.
Yep.
Besides that you are audited, you have a North Fork distribution?
We go from Greenport to Manorville to Santa Mauritius and out to Montauk. So both forks and then up beyond Riverhead West. So it's getting out there.
The message is definitely getting out there when I buy my advertisings. It's covering really all kinds of areas I want to target, like the rest of the Hamptons, the other Hamptons.
One of the things, we've actually commissioned a poll, which isn't out officially yet, but when it comes out, you, the advertisers, are going to see that we're getting virtually 100% readership inside the newspaper. People are reading the features in the B section. People are reading the editorial pages in the letters. So that means they're going through the whole paper. And that's always important in our business. For example, if you get Dan's Papers or Hamptons Magazine, whatever it is, and it's this thick, that's all well and good. But if the person isn't going over to page 63 where your ad is, then it's not good at all. You know,
Is that what it is? It's the content.
you got to read it to, you know.
Yes, you have to keep it alive and interesting.
Exactly.
The stuff in the news, guys. That's really what it is
Yeah.
about. That's what he's
You know, we
doing.
also have a great film reviewer, terrific. A good book reviewer. I have 4 humor columns, which is 4 more than any other paper around here has.
Yeah.
You know, we have a cartoon.
Yeah.
You know, we have
That's
a lot
new
of,
too. That's what
yeah,
he's doing.
yeah. We have an inquiring photographer, which is people on the street. We have all kinds of things inside that are typically among the favorite features in other papers and other places.
Hey, and they have Rick Murphy, and we gonna say goodbye. Until next time, your American Dream Show.
Thank you.
Dreams of freedom, to have the choice to be what we can.